Welcome back everyone, to a brand new TV show spoiler review and breakdown here on Max Talk Movies. And today we're talking the first two episodes of Ahsoka on Disney Plus. We're going to break down the episodes in spoiler fashion, to let you guys get caught up on all the Rebels information that you guys might have missed. If you've never seen the show leading into Ahsoka, what's next? What are some theories I have? I'm going to break it all down here today. So welcome to this video. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. We just hit 160 subscribers. Let's get above that to 170 very soon. So please subscribe, ring the bell. I do these types of TV show reviews, movie rankings, and every Monday I do a box office breakdown show. So please subscribe, ring the bell if you're new to the channel. Comment down below. First of all, if you've seen the first two episodes of Ahsoka, did you like them? Did you not like them? First of all, also, have you seen all of Rebels? Are you a diehard Rebels fan? Did this live up to the hype? Not live up to the hype? Or you checked out of Star Wars at this point? All your thoughts in the comment section. I do respond to every single comment, so please let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll get back to you. Also, please like the video, guys. The thumbs up button. That's how you support this channel. So if you're new to this channel, my most passionate thing in, I guess, the movie or entertainment culture for me is Star Wars. I grew up around the time of the prequels. I was 3 years old when Revenge of the Sith came out. And the thing I really grew up on that was coming out weekly was both Clone Wars and Rebels. Again, I didn't see a Star Wars movie in theaters until Force Awakens in 2015. So I grew up on Clone Wars and Rebels. I've seen Clone Wars 4 times. And I think I've seen Rebels 4 times as well. I finished Rebels twice in the last year. I watched it, I think in like October, then I watched some of the episodes back with my mom so she can get caught up. So I've been watching Rebels a lot as of late. So I am very passionate about Dave Filoni's Star Wars. And because not just were they my childhood, but I thought they were very interesting things to add to the Star Wars lore. And as a kid, when none of the live action characters were mentioning things that happened mostly on the show, it would kind of feel like it was a niche. It wasn't a part of the Star Wars universe, but really with Mandalorian, and with obviously Filoni being on that team, you bringing so many of these character storylines to live action. Also in Book of Boba Fett, you've kind of seen a lot of people really finally show their love for these animated shows in a passionate way that I've really been showing my whole life. And now this is the show that I've been, out of all the Star Wars shows that have come out, this is the most excited I've been for a Star Wars show. It's a Dave Filoni live action Star Wars show with basically another season episode, season 5 of Rebels. And that just got me very excited. So normally on these week to week videos, I do breakdowns of scene by scene and things, but because they're 2 episodes and it's basically 2 hours of content, I'm not going to go scene for scene. This will just be a kind of a general thoughts, what I feel out of the get-go. So overall, I love these first 2 episodes. I don't think, obviously, this is a flawless show so far. I think sometimes tonally, the show can kind of be all over a place where, especially like the first couple scenes of the show, where we kind of a dark scene with our new villains of the show, of Baylan Skoll, and played by, of course, the late Ray Stevenson and his Padawan. Then jumping to Ahsoka in that fight, then jumping to Sabine. It did feel like 3 kind of completely different tones. Sorry, Shin Hati is the other apprentice. So basically the story of this, I'll catch you guys up also if you guys are not familiar with Rebels. And this is kind of what shocked me about this show overall to start, which was that the show, I really don't think does a good job at catching people up on the characters, the relationships with these characters if you haven't seen Rebels. I really do think that in Mandalorian, people don't feel like they missed anything if they hadn't seen Clone Wars and Rebels about people like Bo-Katan and Cad Bane and Book of Boba Fett, for example. They're very mainstream in a very interesting way. This still very much feels like a niche. Now, a niche that I love, because obviously I'm very passionate about these characters, especially Ahsoka and Sabine exclusively. But I find it very interesting that they did not take a lot of time to help people out. They didn't usually, like in for the Obi-Wan show, but before the first episode started, they did do like a recap of the prequels, basically, of the Obi-Wan and Anakin relationship leading into the Obi-Wan show. And I thought they were going to do like a recap of Rebels, like a 5-minute recap maybe leading into the show, but the show just starts like, okay, well, they're really not going to help anyone out. We saw the red Lucasfilm logo, and then we got the like a new crawl, which I felt like was really good, and I think did the best job at least of catching people up for the most part. So we have a lot of things going on. We have the villains, which I think are very interesting to the show. We have, as I said, Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati and Morgan Elsbeth. So Baylan and Shin were obviously former Jedi who are no longer Jedi. They had that, they use their former Jedi ship from Clone Wars in the opening scene, and they have like Jedi clearance codes as well. And that's what I think that Filoni has really done a great job with his Star Wars, that it's just not simple as Jedi versus Sith. I think there's a lot, and with the Force, there are a lot of different things, and it's not just about the Jedi and the Sith and good versus evil. There's a lot of people that fall in the middle, and with Morgan Elsbeth, we learn, obviously, as you saw in Star Wars Rebels with the World Between Worlds episodes, that the Force is not just about pushing someone or pushing something. It can be some kind of, I guess, time travel. But there's a lot of ways to use the Force, and they're not just used by Jedi. They're obviously used by a witch, as we learn later in episode, I think 2 is episode 1 where we find that out. So Baylan and Shin get Morgan out of prison in the opening scene. She's the one who fought Ahsoka in Ahsoka's episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian, who, Ahsoka asked her about Grand Admiral Thrawn. So and then we get the Ahsoka fight scene with the robots. I think this is the best looking of the Star Wars shows. I mean, obviously Andor's a lot different because it's mostly shot on location. Obviously, Ahsoka, Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett use the volume, but I think with the use of the volume, I think this is the cleanest. And I think the reason why is that this show does feel like classic Star Wars. The outfits in the opening scene. Another great thing they did also in the show is they brought back Kevin Kiner as the composer. Kiner was the legendary composer of both Clone Wars and Rebels, and people have been asking for years for Kiner to be the next guy to do the scores for Star Wars movies, because I think he did the best job really of blending both the John Williams themes and types of music in with original themes. And I think it's great to hear Kevin Kiner. The score is breathtaking on the show. So Ahsoka's with Huyang, the droid that she's with on the show. Huyang was a Jedi person who helped, not a Jedi, sorry, Huyang was a droid who helped get the Jedi younglings to their kyber crystals and build their lightsabers and things like that. So it's great to see Huyang with Ahsoka. It's obviously not a Jedi anymore. But we learned that at the end of Rebels, when Ezra and Thrawn were taken away, we ended the show with Rebels with Ahsoka and Sabine, because Sabine promised Ezra that she would find him, that they would go off together. Now, obviously, off screen, we learned in the show that Ahsoka took Sabine as a Padawan. We saw Sabine in Rebels learn with the Darksaber, so she has some lightsaber skills, and people think she could be Force sensitive. But again, the first person who had the Darksaber was a Mandalorian Jedi. So I think that's what the show, I think, is going to move forward with. I think they want it. It's very similar to what they're kind of doing with Grogu in The Mandalorian, where he's kind of both a Jedi and a Mandalorian. I think we might see that here in this show more quickly with Sabine. So again, Ahsoka's played by Rosario Dawson. She really does commit to the action scenes. And I think that I know some people say that the Andor show wasn't Star Wars because of the lightsaber stuff, and I really adore Andor. I think it's one of the best shows they've done. But I do really feel like out of all of these Star Wars shows, this does feel like classic Star Wars. Now, that's just to me, who's watched the TV shows growing up. It does feel like classic Star Wars. I think Filoni did a great job with that. Filoni directed episode 1. Steph Green directed episode 2. Green has 2 directing credits this season. In her career, she also directed 1 episode of the Book of Boba Fett as well. So she's been a part of this kind of Star Wars world as well. So as we keep going, we meet Sabine on Lothal. We get a huge cameo from Clancy Brown as Ryder Zazie, who Ryder was one of the freedom fighters on Lothal, and Clancy Brown did voice his character on Rebels, and now getting to see him play Ryder live action was very, very cool. But Sabine is very much with long hair, not putting on the Mandalorian helmet. She's kind of moved on from being the Padawan to Ahsoka. There's a lot of tension there. Ahsoka finds a map that should be leading to both Thrawn and obviously Ezra, we think. So this is where Ahsoka goes to Hera Syndulla, the leader of the Spectre Ghost crew for Rebels. This time played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who I think does the closest job for me of feeling like the Rebels character from animated form of the cast so far. So they have the discussion. She's like, you got to find Sabine, and she said she'll do it for Ezra. So they find, Ahsoka finds Sabine on Lothal. They have a chat. Sabine, there's a lot of tension there. Sabine cracks the map, but obviously it gets taken by the robots who are working for Shin Hati. And this is where Hati has a fight with Sabine at the end of episode 1, where obviously Sabine was not going to win this fight. Hati stabs her, very similar to how Maul stabbed Qui-Gon, but I guess it wasn't like center of the stomach, so it wasn't like a death thing or anything. So Sabine does survive this attack from Shin Hati. So now Morgan Elsbeth now has the key to, or the map to, Thrawn, and we learn that Morgan Elsbeth is a witch of Dathomir, which uses kind of dark magic. The witches were also led by not Mother Talzin. Actually, is that right? Mother Talzin, who was the mother of Darth Maul. There's a lot of great stuff with the Asajj Ventress. You really see a lot of that stuff in Clone Wars, and also you see a lot of the stuff with the Witches of Dathomir in the video games Fallen Order and Jedi Survivors. There's a Witch of Dathomir who's on the team helping out Cal Kestis in those both video games. So there's a lot of stuff for you guys to watch if you've never heard of the Witches of Dathomir. So that's kind of the green magic that you see in episode 2. So in episode 2, they go to Corellia, Ahsoka, and Hera after Sabine cracks the code. And Corellia is the homeworld of Han Solo and Kira, which we saw in the opening bits of the Solo movie. We see that always like Imperial things are going on, and Ahsoka and Hera are very suspicious. And this is where we get kind of a great fight scene. We have Ahsoka fighting both robots and looks like an Inquisitor Morok. We don't see the face of Morok. A lot of people are speculating that this could be Ezra Bridger. I would be really shocked. I don't know if I would be on board with turning Ezra right away in the show to being a Inquisitor type character. But clearly Morok is someone important because Morok continues to pop up. We never see Morok's face. It's covered up for the entire first 2 episodes, and it does have the Inquisitor lightsaber, the spinning one. And then we also have Hera with Chopper, my favorite droid in Star Wars, who comedically get that tracker on the ship that has that rogue droid on it. So that was kind of a mission accomplished. Sabine also has a great one-on-one with Hu Yang, where Sabine's like, I'm not Ezra. This is not even my lightsaber, it's his lightsaber. And Hu Yang said, you'd be the worst Jedi, but you have to make the choice for you to really commit to this. And she cuts the hair. And we kind of get a shot-for-shot remake. Not just the cutting hair scene's a shot-for-shot of Kanan Jarrus doing that in Rebels, but it's really a shot-for-shot remake of the ending of Rebels with Sabine with her haircut, holding her Mandalorian helmet, touching Ezra in the mural, which is created exactly like it was in the animated form, going to Ahsoka. Ahsoka calls her Padawan as they go on their way. We end with a really great scene with Baylan talking to Morgan, where Morgan, they're really building this time travel type thing. Could be the between worlds things, could be a way to get the Purgle to get them there. The Loth Wolves, which also move from galaxy to galaxy. So we shall see how the show goes with finding this area where Thrawn is. We see Thrawn in the trailer. In this episode, I think it was 1, we saw the hologram that Ezra sent specifically for Sabine as well back in episode 1. Because we saw at the end of Rebels, Ezra did have a hologram prepared, knowing he would sacrifice himself with Thrawn to the entire Ghost crew, but it looks like he also sent one specifically to Sabine. Definitely hinting at that they're, I think, more than sisters. I think he says they're more than sisters, but Ezra feels like really likes Sabine in Rebels. So we'll see if there's any flirtation there if they get reunited on the show. But basically Balin's kind of like, it would be kind of a shame if Ahsoka gets killed here. There's only not really a lot of Jedi left, and I really do think that Balin respects Ahsoka. They're very similar in which they're both not Jedi. They're kind of square in the middle. Now, obviously, Balin's a bit more, you'd say, to the dark side. Ahsoka's more to the light side, but both are out of the Jedi Order and took their own paths with the Force. And I do feel like this show, the first episode was called Master and Apprentice. They're really going to explore the kind of the middle ground, I think, of ways of the Force and also not having to be a Jedi or a Sith and what that means to particular characters. So overall, I think it's a great start. The action I thought was fantastic. The look of the show was really good. I did think the pacing was a bit all over the place at times. I don't really like the idea of us, especially as a Rebels fan, not getting to see Ahsoka and Sabine kind of train together and see their ups and downs, and them having to exposition us about their entire relationship in between Rebels and this show, and having that whole Jedi Padawan relationship off screen. I'm not a big fan of that. I wish they would have at least shown a little bit of some flashbacks of them doing it. But the cast is great. Rosario Dawson is great. Natasha Leigh Dorso, really like Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Hera, huge standout. Love Ray Stevenson and Ivana Shanko as Shinhan, as the villains of the show, as well as Diana Lee and Santo as Morgan Elsbeth. We'll see. I wasn't really feeling Amon Esfandi's performance as Ezra in that one hologram. Now, again, it's a hologram, not a lot to see there, but it didn't really feel like Ezra to me. But we'll see when Ezra finally does show up. Hopefully Zeb does show up in the show as well. A lot of things to get into, but I'm so excited to finally break down scene for scene for the next 6 weeks. More Ahsoka. I'm very passionate. What are your theories down below? Let me know. I'll see you guys very soon with a new Ahsoka every single Wednesday here on the channel.